Hey, Immaterial World listeners. We know you're resolving to more personal exploration, curiosity, and spiritual wellness in 2026. So we're excited to announce the kickoff of our partnership with Wiser Books just in time for the new year.
Wiser works with so many creators and with titles across spirituality, relationships, mysticism, mindfulness, and more. You'll certainly find alignment with what's next for you in your journey.
For those in the immaterial world, use code immaterial30 at checkout at redwheelwiser.com, linked in the show notes. That's immaterial30 for 30% off your purchase through the end of March. Happy exploring!
A new year gives us the opportunity to welcome our desires and set out our intentions of how to move forward towards goals. But as the early weeks of January come to pass, too often we abandon resolutions, never giving them the anchoring needed to flourish through the year.
As winter is a time of energy conservation and preparing for what's ahead, let's take an evening to come together in a community ritual, ground into our intended achievements with purpose, and build actionable next steps using astrological touch points in the months to come.
On January 18th, join us alongside Immaterial World guest and friend astrologer Valerie Mesa for Make It Happen, a digital ritual to move forward with confidence and determination, set in alignment with Mercury conjunct Mars, as well as a new moon in Capricorn. Through an intention setting ceremony, you will acknowledge your goals for 2026, power them with resolve, and actively set next steps on your calendar to continue building towards what you desire.
Attendees will be led through a series of interactive exercises, including community tarot, journaling prompts, and ritual to acknowledge their highest intentions for the new year, guided meditation to intuitively tap into any messages meant to carry them through what's next, and chatting early 2026 astrology to calendarize next steps in alignment with the energy of upcoming transits. Link in show notes for more and to register. See you there.
Welcome to Immaterial World,
a dedicated and transparent space to recenter how we explore glamour, magic, culture, and everything else we love together.
Immaterial world, come meet me in the immaterial world. As far as the galaxy goes, we're flying in the immaterial world. Immaterial world, come meet me in the immaterial world. With mind and body and soul, we're flying in the immaterial world. The immaterial world.
Kimberly Dewhirst is currently the lead astrologer for ELLE UK, writing daily, monthly, and annual forecasts. Since 2016, she's written horoscopes full-time for personal clients as well as outlets such as Vogue, Spotify, Time Passages, Charlotte Tilbury, horoscope.com, and many more. In 2012, she started the blog starsignstyle.com, which was one of the first sites to explore the intersection of fashion, beauty, and the zodiac. Kimberly has studied with the London School of Astrology, the Faculty of Astrological Studies, and has been mentored privately for over a decade. She has been living and breathing astrology for quite some time and hopes her work will empower people to express themselves and find them more closely connected to their truth. If you're looking to connect with Kimberly in the new year for a personal astrology reading, mention Immaterial World for a 15% discount on your session. Visit her website listed in the show notes to connect. A new year is upon us, my friends, and we are going to welcome it in the right way. with all of the optimism and motivation and intention to set us into 2026 on the highest of vibes. So, Jez and I, we love to chat astrology, and our guest today is an expert. When we were in the lead up to this episode, we were doing our preparation, we were doing our research, and I saw a phrase on our guest's website, something that she hopes to instill in her clients when they work together. And that phrase is confidence building. So when we're talking about divination, whether it's tarot or astrology or really anything that you might see, let's say on social media, there does tend to be a lot of people that are reeling you in with fear mongering, which we hate. So I love that we have our guests here today and that they are building up their audience through empowering divination and through empowering astrology. So we are so thrilled to have Kimberly Dewhirst here today to talk to us how we're going to use our astrology for good, empower us into our highest potential in the new year. Kimberly, welcome to the immaterial world.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you ladies. So good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, let's start by talking about how it all started. Tell us about your path, your early life, and how you arrived at working in astrology.
Yes. So I grew up in the English countryside where there was no religion in our household. And actually, my dad lived abroad for my whole childhood. Basically, he worked abroad in like Saudi Arabia and all these different, very culturally obscure places. And so we didn't grow up in a I didn't grow up in a religious household. In fact, I grew up in a household where astrology was just there, 100% on offer. And I was just speaking about this the other day to a friend. My direct family members have really strong natal signatures. So my dad has 6 planets in Leo and he's a Leo rising. So he is incredible. Yeah. Yeah, with Pluto, yeah, with Pluto rising in Leo, no less. But he really is such an archetypal Leo that when it came to astrology, there was no resistance from me. It was very, very easy for me to believe because my dad was super Leo, tick. My mum's super Capricorn. She's a Sun, Mercury, Venus in Capricorn. And my sister is a Sun, Mercury, midheaven in Cancer. And those characters, that immediate nuclear family, displayed and demonstrated the zodiac archetype so strongly that I was just a believer from the get-go. And I myself have the Sun and Venus in Aries. So even though my Mercury's in Taurus, I'm a bit of a slow talker. My fire signs are really active. Plus, I have the moon in Sagittarius trine my Venus in Aries. So I really felt like an Aries as well. Coincidentally, the person my best friend who grew up across the street from me, ever since I was 18 months old, I knew my best friend. I later got her birth time. We are the same ascendant degree, and we both have interchangeable sun moons. So she's a Sag sun, I'm a and she has an Aries moon. So basically, I was really strongly surrounded by the energy. So as a believer from the get-go, then I never would have thought that I could become an astrologer. It was not on my map. It was like something, I don't know if you'd say privileged or just, it just seemed incredibly like off the charts to think that I could become an astrologer. So I never even considered it, except for when I was 16. Now, I'm not saying I came from a broken home, but at 16, I was like, I need to get out of living with my mother, who has an Aries Mars. She's, it was a wild time. And I said to my mum, I was like, I need to go and live somewhere else. Like, this is not cool. And I wrote to Jonathan Kaner, who's now passed away. At 16, I wrote a letter to him, and his secretary wrote me back. And then he co-signed the letter. And he said, I said, how do I become an astrologer? So at 16, I wrote this letter. And then about 20, I think I was 20, just graduated university or school. So I was in my early 20s. I came home and I ripped up the letter. I'm a Scorpio, like Pluto at 0 degrees Scorpio, very, very similar to Jessica with the Mars and the Saturn there. And I said, I can't believe I ever wanted to be an astrologer. And I ripped up what was throwing away photos and doing a karmic cleanse. And then it was another 7 years after that that I went to astrology school in London.
I will say that that reaction with the ripping of the letter and like the ultimatum feels very much like like me. So thank you for calling out that signature so early in the show because yes, that felt very karmic and scorpionic for me. Thank you.
Yeah, and then 7 years later, I was having my Saturn return, which was around 2012. I was in a very dark space in London. I had just quit one job and gone to work for this guy and experienced sexual harassment. Not that I'd registered it or anything. And I was like, I've got to get out of this bloody workplace. But it was a really weird setup. And basically, I prayed to God and I was like, God, send me something I can do because this is just not working. And so I was basically learning how to make a WordPress website. This was like, the 2000s. It was all blogging and all that. And this guy made websites. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to make my own website and girl boss it home. And I said, I'm going to become a digital nomad. And then I basically said, what can I write about? Oh, astrology. That's like my passion. And then I started building, building, building. I think 2012 was when my Star Sign Style website started. Now I'm a big fan of the Astro Twins. And I was like, I want to be like the Astro Twins, but like more stylish, So basically, decided to make a blog about all the observations that I'd had since being really young, like being a child and obsessing over everybody's star signs and constantly wondering and watching, like, well, who's like this? And my mum you wouldn't see it if you saw a photo of her, but my mum really reminds me of Kate Moss, and they're both Capricorns. She was really gangly as a kid, really skinny, had really incredible cheekbones. Sad to say that's not how she looks anymore, but if you look at her when she was in her youth in like the 60s and 70s, I'm like, oh, so Capricorns have a look. And then I was always really close friends with Scorpios. And I'm like, wow, like they're so sexy and like mysterious and, fill in the blanks. So basically, I loved the aesthetics and no one had done it before at all in 2012. So I started on that path. So that's where it began. But I wanted integrity. I wanted to do everything properly because I knew it was such a big task to tackle. So I went to the London School of Astrology at that time. And that was my Saturn return.
I'm so fascinated. I was not aware that there was a school of astrology. Was that a physical space or was it a digital
Yeah.
space or okay.
But there's several. There's the Faculty of Astrological Studies. There's even a school called Trinity St David's in Exeter in the UK, where they actually have I think it's a master's, but the title of the degree is different. But they have Kepler College in the US, and they've got the world's biggest astrology conference next September in Chicago, which I hope to make UAC.
Oh, wow.
Fabulous. How did you tie in? So you started to talk a little bit about how you saw physical characteristics that were standing out, but how did you start to tie in fashion and personal styling into how you were talking about astrology?
I'll tell you a little story. So basically, I went to a palm reader. I'm a complete mystic lover, and I'm also somebody who grew up with my Capricorn mother, and this is fresh, so excuse me, but she said to me last night, she's like, you need to stop doing the fashion. She's very austere. She's like into like not buy overspend, not overconsumption. She's very holistic and so on. And I was like, Mum, the whole reason I do this is so people know to buy less, so that people find their signature style. It's a very integral thing that comes behind my intention. And it's because I grew up really not understanding my sense of style or fashion. I mean, I grew up at the same time as you guys, those magazines that were bombarding us with like, you got to buy this, this is your summer wardrobe. And it was just very overwhelming and confusing for me. I just never got fashion at all. And Venus and Aries people tend to be people who kind of need to seize control over, obviously the Scorpio planets, but Venus and Aries are quite like they want to have that kind of bold look sorted so they can go about their business. And it's functional. Like if you feel good, if you know that you don't have to think about it, life runs more smoothly. But I saw this palm reader and he said, don't wear red nail varnish. And I was like, oh, he said, your character is way too strong for red. Now, in books, they always mention the colors for the zodiac signs. It's just part of the list, like countries, the elements, different keyword associations to do with each zodiac sign. And they would always say Aries is red. And I was like, how fascinating that I'm an Aries and this guy is telling me that I'm too Aries. This was when I was in university age. And so I was fascinated and I was like, well, what should I wear? And basically, I realized I was a Cancer rising. I don't know when this came about, but I was basically on this journey of like, what should I be wearing? Because I'm so fiery and it was so confusing. And basically, I lived in South Africa for a while and I had a library pass and I would always go to this library and basically be looking at, fashion books, of course, like what else does a young woman want to look at? So I'd get all the fashion, the self-help books. I was always obsessed. Then I came back and worked in the UK and I happened to get a job with a color consultant. And she was the number one color consultant. So there's Color Me Beautiful. She was the number one like salesperson for the UK for Color Me Beautiful. Now, when I worked for her, we were doing telemarketing, but she still had all the scarves. And she said, I'll do your colors for you. And then I borrowed the scarves. And I lived in this town. It had quite a lot of shops, like high street shops. So I used to haul this bag of scarves that were my perfect colouring around the shops. And my friend laughs to this day because I basically just bought the most extreme coloured clothes, like bright. I'm a warm spring. So I was buying these pink coats and like random stuff. And again, that was part of my fashion journey where I was like, what works, what doesn't work. A lot of that stuff didn't work. But then they did a body analysis as well. And this is probably about 15 or even 20 years ago that this happened. So I started to understand proportions, color theory. And then when I came to do the astrology, I was like, okay, this is another layer, which is more nuanced, that kind of works in the psychology of a person at a very, very, very nuanced, unique level. So that's the long and short of it.
That is so fascinating. So, if someone was hoping to inform their personal style from elements of the birth chart, where would they start looking for clues?
Yeah, so going back to why the guy told me not to wear red, obviously I have an overwhelming amount of fire, but also I'm Cancer rising. And I know I'm wearing red right now.
I
It's
know.
a
I was going to say I
Sagittarius
would
new
like
moon.
would like to say we're staring at you wearing the brightest of red
I'm
long
in
sleeve
Chris,
tops.
I'm in Christmas mode. I'm actually
Yes.
working it back in. This is the only red top I own, and I've only bought it recently. And the reason I bought it is because Neptune's moving into Aries. So I know that red is going to be a signature color for like the next 15 years.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I'm working it back in. I'm disregarding what the palmist said. But I'm a Cancer rising. And so basically, that means that white is actually a really, really powerful color for me. And Cancerian tropes. So basically, I'm not saying romanticism. Romanticism is such a big word, but basically, there's a look for Cancer, which I'll post on my feed because I'm finally getting round to doing that. But people should start, in my belief, they should start with the ascendant and then the ascendant ruler. Then don't discount the whole chart, but basically the sun, moon, even Mercury, Venus, knowing the way that those planets operate as a lens to channel the other planets through. So the sun is the king and the brightest star in our sky. Mercury is the messenger planet. So we've got the sun colored by the lens of Mercury. And the sun is so powerful. The sun is such a vital part of everybody's life. And similarly, our sun sign, our star sign really does resonate. And I was just making these videos and I was like, it is insane how there can be somebody who only has the sun in a planet and they do really, really, really resonate with that archetype, projected through their style. So I would say the whole chart counts, the whole chart. And that's why it's such a wonderful personal journey that we can go on, because we're going to keep learning more about ourselves. Oh, what's this tiny aspect? Not tiny aspect, but Jupiter Venus. I've got like Jupiter square Venus. Where does that fit into my tendencies and by proxy how I then treat fashion and the outer? And one of the great sayings in astrology is as above, so below. As the soul, so it's the Carl Jung quote. Clearly, I can't remember it off the top of my head, only the first bit, but it's as above, so below, so the soul, so the earth, or something like that. And it basically means as in heaven, so be it on earth. So whatever's going on above, we can find a way to ground that. We are responsible for our personal expression of the stars. So I think, fashion can be vapid, or fashion can be incredibly spiritual. And the intentionality that we put behind dressing is huge because, as I say, confidence, beauty, we all want to live on a beautiful earth. And nobody likes seeing a fashion disaster, how it offends the eyes. So.
Oh, that's so cool. Is it like, do you find you primarily focus on colors, or are you also thinking about like silhouettes or like vibes and moods as you're moving through what someone's fashion would look like? Because I'm thinking about my chart and I'm like, wow, I'm a real smattering in my sun, rising, moon, Venus, and Mercury of all different, there's a lot of different things happening.
When I look at your chart, the number one thing that I gravitate towards is the Moon Jupiter conjunction in Pisces, which really is the star of the show, right? Like Gemini, am I allowed to say your
Oh,
placements?
yeah, go for it.
Some people, some people don't want the whole thing called out, but you've got a great chart with this pronounced signature, which kind of should be the calling card, which kind of should be the absolute go-to for everything. Like I would be so leaning into mysticism and just looking at the Pisces women like Erica Badu, the flowing, absolutely, I'm not saying outlandish, but like, I love the character. I love fashion for the extreme versions of things. So I like looking at kind of like how crazy it can go. So I'm not saying Erica Badu is crazy, but she really amplifies that Pisces vibe. Or, there are other Pisces people. So definitely the silhouettes, definitely the flowing lines for Pisces, definitely the archetypes and the tropes, which can be harnessed for your own benefit, because as somebody sees you coming, they'll say, oh, she's a mystic, oh, I can see her. She's telling me who she is. And that moon Jupiter in Pisces is just so powerful. Plus Mercury in Cancer. And then the Leo, I noticed that you do wear the leopard print. And Leo is such a strong solar sign, right? The sun is in its domicile sign. So for you, it's like easy peasy in the fact that we can just look at the water and ground the water with so much ease and beauty, and then give it a good old injection of Leo superstardom of like, yep, I have got that Leo there too. And the funny thing is so I look at Pamela Anderson's chart, who's a Gemini rising with her chart ruler Mercury in Cancer. She's a Cancer sun. And I've gone in depth into her chart because she's obviously prolific and fascinating. And for her, the second house Mercury is her assets and Cancer is the breasts, right? Like Cancer is the nurturing. So her assets that she brings to the table is that femininity, her boobs, but you've also got that too. So when I look at yours, of course, we go Pisces first, but the Mercury being your chart ruler, your womanhood, your bosom could also be your calling card. Sorry to say it so crassly, like get
No,
your
it
tits.
super is.
I was like, so far, all facts.
I
Great
love
tits. Don't worry
it.
about the clothes. Just,
And
make
I
sure.
do I want to say this too, though. Pamela Anderson is now all in her farm life, and that's Jez's next adventure. Like that, like moving into a cottage and like just being like barefoot and like farmer. I love this.
My goodness. I love this trajectory.
And I feel like that's why I love celebrities. Again, my Capricorn mother's saying, stop with the celebrities. She's like down on celebrity culture. And I do understand with the Aquarius trajectory that we have coming in, the powerful Aquarius domination of Pluto coming in. But I love public figures that allow us to have heroes, right? Like Pamela is a hero. She's an archetype. She is living out our projections. Of course, those projections are based on something, but I say Pamela, I know you ladies are going to know exactly who I'm talking about. I know that you know all the cultural references. So to me, there's a whole world that really connects us, and that is fashion, art, culture, celebrity. And so, yeah, I love working in this way, in this medium. I will say Pamela's got a moon in Aries conjunct. Is it? I can't remember. She's got it might be Jupiter, but that's the red swimsuit, and she's got the Leo hair as well. She's got that golden mane of hair. So she's got Venus in Leo, sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's
Yeah.
so helpful to walk through those examples.
Yeah, so it's about finding a few celebrities that are kind of like a bit of a yardstick, kind of in a way. And that's totally what I did when I was exploring, my specialty, as it were.
I love this, and I will say, I am Pisces Sun, Aries rising, like Rihanna, and not necessarily for the style, but this idea of having many eras, never like having everything's a costume. This is so true of me. If you look at my Instagram, like there's not a casual picture of me. Like everything has to be like, like a whole entire concept. So I totally vibe with that. And I have Rihanna's book, which I go through all the time as a point of reference for styling and like putting things together for myself. So she is my North Star for fashion for sure.
Yes, and Rihanna also has a really, really strong Aries signature, which you don't have, which is she has Moon, Venus, and Jupiter and Aries rising. She is super, super Aries dominant. So she's fascinating. But again, that outfit that she wore to an awards ceremony where it was so Pisces, she only has the sun in Pisces. And
Yes.
yet,
Yeah. Yeah.
and yet she's so incredibly mesmerizing, which is a
Yes.
Pisces trope, right? Like that hypnotizing quality. But for you, I noticed that yours is very easy as well. I say easy. Yours is a very easy signature to kind of delineate as well, because you've got Mars in Scorpio, which is so powerful as a chart ruler. So, I was just looking up as well the founding date of Dr. Martens to see so one of the things I do is I of course look at the designer's birth chart to see what's going on with the designer, and depending on how good of an astrologer you are, you will be able to deep dive more into a fashion designer's world. I think there was a documentary on that guy that was adopted. I can't remember. I think he's the head of Balmain. You know that guy? He's French. I can't remember. There was a documentary on him, and I looked at his astrology when I was watching that. I always watch TV shows and cross-reference the horoscope at the same time. So I
I
did a
love
whole
this. Yeah.
thing in COVID where I was watching The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, and it was COVID, and I was literally pulling up every single game because they time stamped every single game. So anyway, I'll look at the charts of a designer, and I'll look at the founding date that a company had. So Chanel is obviously a very obvious example. Chanel's a mega Leo, but she founded her company during Neptune in Pisces. Neptune in Cancer. Neptune in Pisces would be now, but so Chanel launched her business during Neptune in Cancer. Pearls are Cancerian, so this absolute beautiful association and affiliation we have with Chanel and pearls comes from that. But people are always so, oh, it's Chanel, it's Leo, the number 5 perfume. Leo is number 5, da 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 da. But I'm like, no, guys, the pearls are so mysterious and mystifying that that's what informs. Anyway, Dr. Martens was launched as an Aries, and so Dr. Martin boots, very Aries, but then that kind of Neptune in Scorpio transit in the 60s, which was beat mod, black leather. I don't want to use the word goth or emo, but like kind of like that Scorpio trope. So yours can be a very mysterious underlay, but with the front of the kind of like tough biker chick, beat 1960s kind of vibe, if that makes sense. Like obviously I would want a mood board for you, but
Oh yeah. No, this does totally make sense. Like I'm definitely like a New York City, like wearing all black. Jess is laughing at this. I feel so seen right now. No, it's really funny to me because I would definitely be like a lug sole, a black leather jacket, like, like a heavy eye and like dark hair. I've had my eras in other ways, but definitely that would be like my core look for sure.
yes, and like a black beanie because Aries rules the head, especially in winter when it's so cold. But you also
Yeah.
have that moon on the North Node in Gemini, which says a lot as well. So it's the North Node in the second house in Gemini. So it's really pulling in a lot of information around the nuance of your fashion. So, like graphic t-shirts with the print or the symbolism or it's a very Gemini thing, using fashion to communicate and express oneself. Also, the glasses are very Gemini as well, and any kind of accessories that make it easier um, to see and to connect. But that's not to be overlooked. That so there's so
Yeah.
much within a chart, but like it's like, and then the Venus in Aquarius as
Oh
well is
yeah.
also very
Yeah.
strong.
Yeah, and I think that that has been informative. Like I've always been a not so much, I wouldn't even say a risk taker. I think others would look at it as risk taking, but to me, it doesn't feel like that because, Venus and Aquarius is like, what the hell, I'm going to do it. And I don't really care what anybody thinks. So, yeah, I love this. I love this so much. And, you are talking about fashion and astrology, but another thing that's been so strong for you is astrocartography. And you've even made huge life changes and huge life moves based on some of your own lines. So you've lived on your Venus line in Hong Kong, and now you're on your Mercury line in Japan. Tell us how you worked with astrocartography and how other people might want to do that for their own
Yeah.
lives. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So funny story again. Like I was planning on just leaving. I was ahead of the game as an Aries with the digital nomad life. This was 2013. I was like, I'm leaving. I've got to get out of the UK. Like I need to just, my life was really falling apart, Saturn return style, and I just really needed to liberate myself. Scorpio planets again, burn it all, rise from the ashes. So I left the UK, but before I did, I went to a seminar in the December, and it was an astrology conference, and I attended a talk on astrocartography. So this is December 2013. I was all ready to leave, to kind of plan my trip. It must have been a bit earlier, actually. Maybe it was even September. I went home and saw my sister, and I pulled up this astrocartography map, and I was like, I'm going to explore the world, modestly. And I said, I'm going to go to these places. Let's plan, like, let's look. And my sister said, go and stay with Mina in Hong Kong. So she went to university. She was friends with a lot of girls from Hong Kong. They all seemed to go to the same university, or she was in with a crowd there. They were all her best friends. So she was like, go and stay with Mina. So I planned my China/Hong Kong trip on the basis that, yes, I had my Venus descendant line running through. So I wanted to tick off as many as I could, but also I had a couch to crash on. And I rocked up and went to China and did a little vacay in China as well. And that was my Jupiter line. So I was bestowed with luck in this area of the world anyway, because Jupiter is the planet of luck. And I was very risk averse. I was just flinging myself around the world. And then I met my now husband within 2 weeks of living there. I went on Tinder, and he was the only guy I spoke to on Tinder, the only guy I met up with. And the rest is history. I'm not saying everybody's going to meet their husband within 2 weeks of moving to their Venus descendant line, but who knows?
That is an important disclaimer. We're happy for that one, but that is a beautiful story.
Yes, and I ticked off many other lines. I even went to Japan back in those days, and I was very much on a spiritual journey. Like Neptune had moved into Pisces, Jupiter was in Cancer. It's at the exact same time as the same Jupiter transit that we're under now. And that was crossing my ascendant. So I was going out on this big, big journey. And I researched, and if only I'd have been more business savvy and written it all down properly, I could be could be somewhere else right now, really thriving in a business sense. But I kind of didn't. I didn't push it in such a way. I didn't know it was going to be such a big deal. But yeah, I definitely researched it, and I work with people one on one and analyze the astrocartography. But I think, as with anything in astrology, like sometimes things can be subtle. Like I was finding it really, really pronounced for me, but I know that other people would not necessarily. I think unless you're going into something consciously and looking for things, you might not be logging and recognizing the significance of things. So I asked my dad a couple of days ago, I was like, what happened when you were in the Netherlands? He lived basically just outside Amsterdam, and my parents both lived in Berlin, where they gave birth to my sister. And I was like, Dad, look at this line, and it's his Saturn line. And I was like, what happened? Like, what was the conditions of your home? It was a Saturn IC line. And he said, oh, very nice, very nice. And I was like, come on, Dad, like, give me a quote, but he didn't have anything for me. But, he just said it was nice. He had a good time there and in two separate locations, like at two different times of his life. So it's not necessarily going to hit somebody between the eyes unless they're conscious. And I would say that's the same with astrology transits, that one could be going through a very significant life transit, but unless you're aware of it, it might pass unannounced. Like I had Pluto square my sun, and it's kind of squaring my Mercury. I had Pluto square my Pluto. You have also, Jessica, had been having Pluto square Pluto. Now
Yep.
I've had it square my sun, and honestly, it's not been that bad. It's not been, I mean, it's yes and no, but I found Pluto going over my descendant way, way, way more crazy. But then there was a triple conjunction of Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter. So i- sometimes things can be really subtle, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, my Pluto square has been like textbook death, rebirth, transformation, very casual themes. But I know that like Scorpio eighth house energy is like yum, 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 eating it up, like so excited that I'm transforming. I feel like I'm past the exact degree. We're on the other side of it now. My astrologer and I had like a little party about this because it was tough. It was tough, but it has brought me into this new world that I'm in, and I'm so grateful. So, that Pluto square for me was much tougher than my Saturn return. I will say though, I wasn't as astrology savvy around the time of my Saturn return or around the time that I was in my first marriage and I got married. I have looked at my transit chart the day that I got married. I would never show that to an astrologer like for the rest of my life because it is so embarrassing, some of the transits that are happening. And it's like, wow, if you're not aware, but I was being dragged that day. Like no astrologer on this planet would say like it's okay for you to get married that day. They would have looked at it and be like, you're gonna learn a lesson from this one. Yeah. So it's so funny. It's unless you're aware, but when you are aware, it's like, whew, that energy is it's thick. It's thick.
Mm, mm, mm,
So funny. I was
mm.
looking back on my astrocartography with a friend, and I forget which line it was. I want to say Saturn, but I could be wrong. But basically, it ran through Florida, and it was like, if you live around Florida at this time, like you're gonna get divorced. And I'm like, no shit, that's when I got divorced. And like sometimes it really is quite direct. But
Maybe that would be Saturn on your descendant.
yes, yeah, yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Because yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be very textbook. And that's the fun thing to do, is look for the kind of obvious things. Like when I was traveling, so I'd recommend if anyone goes on holiday um, to an astrocartography line to ask the universe to present. And I would say to anybody any day, ask the universe for signs because it's so fun. And sometimes it can be so, apparent and revealing. But I 100% when I went traveling in 2014, I was like, right, let's look for signs. Let's look for signs. And I got off this train in Okayama in Japan, and I was like, give me a sign. And I looked up, and there's so many signs in Okayama saying sun. It's like the sun in or whatever, and they're everywhere. And I was like, okay, I'm on my sun line, got it. Like very, very kind of like typical things. Also, when I was on my Jupiter line, I did couch surfing because I didn't have tons of money. I was trying to save money, and I randomly was allowed to couch surf in a university in China with a random Polish guy. And so universities are Jupiterian places. They are places of learning and expansion and growth. So to have my Jupiter icy line to be living for a couple of weeks on a university campus randomly, like I hadn't been in a university for years, and all of a sudden I'm sleeping on a very cold, hard floor in China. In a university campus. But I thought that was a great example of it. So I was like, wild. And it was the only person who I could stay with because all the hotels in China were so expensive. I was like, I must go to Guangdong province, but everything's so expensive. It was around this big lake called Seven Stars, which is also very Jupiterian as well. So that was part of my adventure. I went to many lines.
That is so fascinating. I love this idea of, a way that you could travel with astrology as your guide. Are there any other kinds of specialized types of astrology like astrocartography that you could see increasing in popularity or you would like to see increasing in popularity?
So this one, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I really, really don't know. But we are heading for such major change, with Neptune's shift into Aries. I don't know, but I think perhaps a far more personalized interpretation, like maybe using technology to somehow generate information. I mean, the leaps and bounds that we've been on. I mean, in the 70s, people were drawing up charts by hand, and it was this very, slow process to get one's chart read by an astrologer. Now you can be in a cafe and pull it up in 2 minutes flat and perhaps deliver the message to somebody, which is the gift as an astrologer, being active and proactive today in the era that we're in. It's a gift to be able to work like this. But at the same time, yeah, this AI experience coming in, maybe that I would say is the kind of interesting development or trend that could be forthcoming. I also think with the Neptune in Aries, Pluto in Aquarius, I've seen some images online of people putting themselves in the movie. So there was a girl that did the Scream. She during Halloween, she put herself to be the lead character very easily in the Scream movie. And I thought, God, that's so Aries, being the lead, the star, the Leo will like it too, being the star of the show and like having one's face be, it's my movie. Neptune and Aries, self-propelled entertainment, self-propelled cinematography, because Neptune is obviously the primary planet that guides our cultural tastes and the zeitgeist of fashion and art and culture.
I'm wondering if you're noticing that there are more references to astrology in pop culture now than we've seen in the past, especially around big things like Saturn returns. Are you seeing that, or is it just us?
Me personally, no. I think what's happening is that we have such a flooding of access to everything. Like the library of the world is being delivered to us. But actually, if you look back in magazines, I'm a big fan of buying vintage magazines because I'm putting together this project where I'm tracing prolific moments in time. And so it's my responsibility to like dig into the magazine and see what words were being used, the tonality of the articles, the imagery, like what really was trending in 1966 or whatever. and to see if I can get more out of it than just like, oh, Scorpios wear black or, this and that. It's like, no, let's go even further to uncover more. And basically, what I see time and time again is references to astrology. Like they are in the more formal broadcasts and the pop girly magazines throughout time. I think what's changed is our access to information. And so there are so many articles. And I also think that people that are in charge of magazines know the value in having mysticism coursing through the overarching strategy for their offering, because I think they know that people are seeking, right? Like I'm seeking to make myself feel good. Obviously, everybody knows the dopamine hit that we get from social media, but I could be, as I say, searching for a new handbag, seeking to soothe myself and make myself feel that on Friday night I'm going to look better. Or I might check my daily horoscope and say, oh my God, Saturn's squaring, the sun is squaring Saturn. No wonder I feel a bit low. And so I think that the way that people are probably using social media to seek out spiritual, affirmations, particularly during Neptune in Pisces, that there will be more developed of what people want. And so I think that the rise in articles, be they about Mercury retrograde and Saturn returns and all the different transits that are happening that are so exciting, I think that they are there because people naturally do demand that kind of content and people respond accordingly. But I think it's always been there, but it's just been way harder. Like I said, astrologers used to draw up horoscopes by hand. So there was going to be less people dedicated to learning about astrology because there was a much higher barrier to entry.
Yeah, I have a handwritten astrology chart that my dad's friend did for me when I was a baby, and
I love.
it's really nice. It's
That
really
is amazing because it really means that you definitely know the time is correct.
yes,
Yeah.
like my angel number birth time.
I love this. Okay, well, we're kind of like beating around it, so let's just get right into the astrology of 2026. There are a lot of major shifts, especially in the outer planets. What can you tell us about what's unfolding? What can we expect?
2026 is just an incredible year. And as an astrologer, it's so fun to be present and witness it. But at the same time, I'm like, when I'm making my plans, I'm not like bracing or, doing anything crazy dramatic. So I don't think anybody needs to, um, you know, basically, there's nothing necessarily coming over us, but collectively, we've never seen shifts like it. So we've got Neptune and Saturn making their conjunction February 21st. I think February 21st is definitely correct, the correct day for Asia. It might be 20th in America, but basically around that time, there's this once in a lifetime event. And the run up to it is also to be counted. So they actually say with that conjunction that I think it can go as far as even I don't want to say 10-degree orb, that's a bit extreme, but like definitely, it definitely stretches. So we're kind of in it at the moment. We've been in it, but the exact day, we might see some really exciting things happening. Now, I say exciting, but unfortunately, the kind of negative side of it is that politically, socially, and culturally, we're just in unprecedented times. So, yeah, there's that there's that Saturn Neptune conjunction, which is just amazing. On a kind of fashion note, I would say, excitingly, the influx of color and boldness is we're going to see a noticeable shift as well. I'll just say that I bought a copy of Vogue during it's Vogue Japan during Neptune and Aries, and I was just living for it. I was delighted by the visuals, really, really cool. So there's that conjunction and those shifts into Aries. We've also got the permanence of Pluto in Aquarius. He's in there for good for 2 decades, 20-year transit. So it's really easy for people, in my opinion, to kind of see and anticipate the next 2 decades of their life just for knowing where Pluto's going to be, and then that patterning coming in with the Saturn Neptune. At the same time, we've then got Uranus re-entering Gemini in exactly the same pattern formation that it did in 2025. So it goes into Gemini with Venus. So there kind of might feel like a bit of a repetition around spring of a familiar sensation. So we're not in completely new territory. We've already had Neptune go in to Aries. We've already had Uranus go into to Gemini. But then we get Jupiter going into Leo, and that will form an opposition to Pluto in Aquarius. So that dynamic will also be incredibly exciting because we've got the king energy. Jupiter is Zeus after all, but in Leo, amplified as this very big dominance and prominence around egocentricity and the individual and the star of the show versus humanity, the people, our collective communities, the society that we feel a part of, the group that we feel a part of, the niche, the microcosm, like the micro society that we feel a part of. So that dynamic's going to be very exciting. And so that's why my work as an astrologer is so fascinating and wonderful, is because not only do I do the vapid, superficial touchstones of, like, looking at colors or, looking at Rihanna and Pamela Anderson, but I'm also having to synthesize some information about what really is going on there. And that's why I think it's credit to the astrologer of how dedicated they can be in kind of giving themselves over to this subject. And that's what's happened for me during Neptune in Pisces. I have just fully surrendered, as Jessica has with her Pisces 12th house. Like, we fully surrendered to the experiences of Neptune in Pisces, which has been art, music, culture, the zeitgeist, this flooding of viral images, and so on.
Yeah, I will say, like, the particular joy that I have doing my fashion astrology series, which, even if it's just for me, I enjoy it so much. And I'm obsessed with Machu Blazy's chart. I'm obsessed. When I ever saw that he posted his photo from university in 2006, where he did a whole space collection, and then, like, literally his Pisces North Node, like that, 18 years later, he did that collection for Chanel. This is the most dramatic Pisces thing ever. I was alone in my home. I, like, closed my computer and sat here and cried for a few minutes because I was so touched. I was like, oh my God, he is living his chart. I love this. And I can't get enough of what he's going to do. And I look at his chart now and I'm so entranced. I'm like, he's here to change this industry. Like, he came here with a big fucking job. Like, he's done it in other houses, but what he's about to do at Chanel is going to change so many parts of the industry. So yeah, like, when I see you talking so passionately about, like, it's about these details that are happening, like what people might think mundane or vain in fashion, it's like, no, this is, like, about humanity. So I get it. I really get it.
It does. It goes so much deeper. And I wonder if then there's a lot of watery energy, given that the Cancer, it might be worth looking for you as well. I'll try and refine the chart basically of the inception of Chanel as the whole business as well, and see how that overlays with his chart.
That's so fascinating. And you've had a chance to see each of our charts as well as the chart for our baby in Material World. And we'd love to know any highlights or challenges you're seeing for each of us in 2026 or for us together as collaborators.
Well, I definitely would see the Jupiter going over your sun as like a hallmark moment. Like, this is going to be quite monumentous. And the fact that you also have Pluto in opposition configured is also not to be ignored as well. So you're right at the end of in Placidus. I mean, I use a few different house systems, but Pluto is right at the end of your eighth house. So it's not new stuff that you're dealing with, but it could be that solidification moment or that moment when Jupiter crosses your sun. I mean, we're not there yet. Jupiter will cross your Mercury in Cancer, then head right over to your Sun. So it might feel like a really big time for you. It's in your second house of self-worth, self-confidence, and you adding value. So there just could be a really wonderful boost. You've also got the trine from the Jupiter moon as well. It's actually happening right now. We've got Jupiter now is at 22 degrees. So it feels to me like you're kind of on this really exciting journey of building up your resources, but resources not always meaning money, can be the confidence that you have, the esteem that you have around your sense of self. And then when that, I mean, the sun in Leo, it's so prolific, right? That when Jupiter crosses that with that configuration, knowing what you know about the job that you want to do or that you do, or the position that you sit in, and then having that Pluto opposition could be a very powerful moment and potentially, I'm not saying give you an injection of cash, but it could be like that. It could be like that penultimate final
You can
moment.
say that. We can manifest this.
Yes, let's say it. Let's say it. I don't want to be
Yes.
negative. Yeah, that's true. It could be an injection of cash, and then you kind of lead straight into the ninth house, third house transit as well. So that's really exciting. You've also got that Pluto square your sun, which is incredibly real and potent. So then Pluto will then go. So it's a big year for you, Jezmina. It really is. Like it's definitely not nothing that's going on there. Also, you've got your 11th house cusp point is 0 degrees Aries. So in February, the community work that you do will also be like being part of society, friendships. I mean, it's so funny. They always give the keywords for the houses, but it's just remarkable when I'm writing horoscopes. I basically cross-reference many people in my head of like what's going on with this person, and like that, matrix fed forward. But I'm thinking in my head like, how can I make this resonate with all of the Gemini risings or all of the people that I know, and make sure that it does hit for all of them. And for you, like friends and the society that you operate in becoming a really exciting place to play,
Cool.
let's say.
Oh, I love that. So the Pluto opposition to the sun, just for anyone who might not know what that is, like what is that challenge?
Well, it will show up in direct relationships, intimate relationships. So even though we want to veer away from sun sign horoscopes and just saying, oh, I am a Leo, therefore, you know, but actually what I've learned, and when I cross-reference the horoscopes, when you read things from the perspective of your sun, they do hit. So for me, I would be saying to you, it's a powerful relationship which could already be there because you've already got Pluto at 2 degrees right now. So it's the experiences you're perhaps having, even with, I don't want to say characters like myself, but I knew someone else who had a really successful podcast, and their Venus is at 29 degrees and Neptune's obviously at 29 degrees. And I listened to the episode that person filmed when I think there was a there was a conjunction going on. I was like, oh, let's see who he's like chatting to today. And for him, his podcast was very mental health oriented. And and his Venus at 29 degrees Pisces really puts him well suited to have gone on that journey, Neptune through the eighth house. So for me, I'm thinking like maybe there are guests or people that you're dealing with one-on-one that you are experiencing this reciprocity. So eighth house being how we come together to do a job together, whether that's having a baby, making a baby, or kind of like wedding in a real committed way to come together and merge. But it could be professional as well, but it's like having a relationship which is significant. So for example, it could be you and Jessica, or like whoever's significant in your world right now that you're building with. But when Jupiter comes in, so that's opposite your sun, so it's basically deflating the ego to think I can do this alone, because Leo is confident and very creative and self-possessed and strong and resplendent. So you've kind of lived your whole life as a Leo saying, I'm here. And then to have that Pluto opposition saying, well, hey, like you might need this person to really lean on and add some other inspiration and connection. And don't forget, when Immaterial World was created, Uranus was at 0 degrees of Gemini. And so that would have also been an experience underpinning your experiences. And then when that, so that's the Pluto opposition would be somebody experiencing a relationship which really challenges them, which is powerful, which is magnetic. My dad's got all that Leo, and I'm just waiting for him to tell me that he's met a girlfriend or something. I'm like, Dad, like, will he meet some, seductive lady? or have a kind of intense encounter. He is on the market, so he is always looking. But it could also be people who have power dynamics with us, which are really, really intense too. So, I mean, it's already happening. It's probably already come in, but then that Jupiter adds something very exciting to it because it's really personally on your sun as well, and squaring that Pluto in your fifth house of personal joy, personal pleasure, personal creativity and self-expression. And that's the house of children and babies and sexuality and fertility and creative output. So the sun being creative, it feels very exciting for you. Very, very exciting times having those. But at the same time, you've got Neptune right now trying your Mercury.
That's so fun.
Exciting,
Thank you so much.
exciting, exciting. You probably know how it's going to transpire better than I do. But I mean, I had Pluto square my sun, and it was just those typical tropes of like power struggles with people.
Yeah.
My mother.
I feel that.
Yeah. And then for the immaterial world, you're going to have your Uranus kick back in as well. So that could be, you're also going to have Jupiter going over your Jupiter moon. There's going to be a kind of, I don't want to say resurgence, but there could be a moment next year where it really feels like you gain traction because Jupiter right now is retrograde, but when Jupiter goes direct, and then you could be fueled with a lot of momentum. It's in the third house. I'm sure that was intentional. That third house Jupiter moon is lovely. I love that you guys have the Mars Mercury in Scorpio aspect there, but yet Venus Sun in Libra. It's very, very nice. And Venus opposite Neptune as well. So this podcast having creative potential that's going beyond. And I think for Jezmina, when that Neptune hits in the 11th house, this playing into your own experiences. And notice in this chart, you play into that grand air trine, which is just amazing. I would definitely be using Addison Rae is very watery, but she's also very air. And I love the way Addison Rae has that millennial, not millennial, but like Y2K vibe of like her. I think she's great. Like I looked at her chart a long time ago before she kind of had her popularity, and I was like, wonder what Addison Rae's going to do with all that air. But basically, with this natal chart for Immaterial World having that really strong air signature with the Neptune and Aries, like it feels very exciting to me. But I also love that Mars Mercury and Scorpio. So I look at Addison Rae's and kind of like the way she brands things. She's got that light as air. Sometimes they make that Maybelline kind of makeup where it's like, oh, it's light as air, like the spongy quality of Maybelline. But then Addison Rae seems to always have like last night's makeup on as well. She's kind of a bit grunge, back of the, I don't know what the lyrics are to the Coca-Cola song, but she's like, oh, I'm in the back of the car. But like on the outside, it's bubblegum pop, Libra, Aquarius vibes, Gemini. I think she's Gemini rising, Libra sun, Aries, Gemini moon or something. Aquarius moon. She's Aquarius moon, I think. Anyway, she's got a grand air trine and it feels very fresh and funky, but also with that scorpionic. She's got Venus in Scorpio.
Interesting. Oh, fascinating.
And then for Jessica, for your 2026 2026. So it takes a little while for Neptune to cross your ascendant. You've got the 9-degree Aries ascendant. However, because you're a Pisces, that shift will be felt by you. Obviously, you probably felt it already. So I think, this touching on as a Pisces, your role, your finances, a lot to do with your identity evolving and shifting. And what's fascinating for me as an observation about astrology and how it works is that whenever a planet moves through our chart, when it moves to the next area or sign or house, we're building on the previous one. So nobody's leaving the Neptune in Pisces transit without gifts that will be built upon with Neptune in Aries. So you and I both kind of just shared that we've both been on this really incredible, scintillating journey with Neptune through Pisces. Now it's going to evolve in a different fashion, building. So it's like all this knowledge that you've had, maybe you'll get a book deal, maybe something will happen, but Neptune's so prolific, it's not going to be nothing, right? Like, which is why I'm preparing by trying to put stuff out there visually, a bit late. I'm late to the party with everything. I've like not done my astrocartography notes but thankfully the universe has catered and looked after me, and I've always got contracts. I think the universe wants me to do daily horoscopes because it's always like, here, do this daily horoscope, here, do this daily horoscope. So I'm fine with that. But for you, Uranus is going to cross that moon on the North Node. It's not just that Uranus is going to cross your moon, which is our home and our most tender, nurturing point of the zodiac. It's not just going to cross the moon, which could be a radical change of address, could be a radical neighborhood change. You said that you live in New York?
I do live in New York, but I am really calling in living somewhere else at this time. So yes.
Yeah, well, it's an 8-year window. We've got an 8-year window of Uranus through Gemini. So get your bags packed, get them ready. But I mean, it's
Love
not till
this.
spring. It's not till spring, summer. But that's a really wonderful one, and I think it could be connected to work, job, security, money, because it's a second house moon. It's a second house moon as well. And then you and I were both having that Pluto square Pluto, and Jupiter going through your fourth house as well, which also symbolizes home and nurture. So I don't know about you, but like the family work that I've been doing this summer of like exploring as an Aries, exploring the past, like going into, healing, and, also Chiron and Eris being in Aries as well has not been nothing. We've had Jupiter squaring them. And again, I listened to the amazing Anne Ortelee's podcast. Sometimes I used to listen to it religiously during the Pluto square Eris and Chiron. But that Eris Chiron, they've been conjunct, and they're going to conjunct again. They're retrograde at the moment, but that's a really exciting signature that's playing into all the stuff that's happening at the moment in Aries terrain as well.
Yeah, and I'm calling in partnership for next year. I've been single for a very long time, so I do think that some of these themes could be a little Aries as well.
Yes, and just be mindful that when you meet the one, that dynamic between pleasing someone, because Pluto going into your 11th house, the 11th house flips the first 6 houses of the chart flip to be the second 6 through 12. So remember, the 11th house is not just about friends, groups, communities, communal wishes, all that kind of stuff. It's also the 5th house from the 7th. So Pluto going into the 11th house, there could be a very sexual, strong connection to discovering a partner's desires and proclivities, as it were.
Kimberly, from your lips to the universe, thank you. That's what we
Very
needed.
sexy.
I'm gonna have a sexy 2026. We're calling it. Jez is gonna have all the money, and I'm gonna have all the sexiness. I love this
I
for
want
us.
both. I want both. I'll take it all.
Oh my gosh, amazing. Well, this was so fun for you to unpack this, and I think it's really indicative of the one-on-one work that you do with clients. Tell us.
I love the fashion. I love the fashion. It's something that comes very naturally to me, but the one-on-one work that I do with clients is always a little bit deeper. Like it's to do with us, right? Like I'm a bit of a girl's girl. I'm a bit of a um, self-helpy type person. So it definitely is not just surface stuff. I mean, we've got the Scorpio. We know how it goes. So yes, I am a I am operating in a very visual sense, but I do hope that I can also help people in a much more, tender way too.
Yeah, I think people should definitely be booking you one-on-one to dig into their birth charts and maybe especially to share a love of fashion and aesthetics and how they want to show up in the world. Are there any, or sorry, is there any advice that you might give to someone who's trying to learn more about themselves through astrology, in addition to, booking?
Yes, I mean, look, I myself did not book in with a professional astrologer at the beginning of my journey. In fact, I don't want to say so resistant, but like, I won't frequent. I know we're supposed to. This is not politically correct of me to say, but I don't necessarily book in with other astrologers. But I have a lot on my WhatsApp, constantly talking to astrologers anyway. But I myself was determined to self-study. There is so much information online, especially these days with these YouTube channels with so many people. So I would just say, hell, dive into the resources, but don't forget your dusty old local bookshop where you might come across a cheap, old battered copy of Linda Goodman or any of or you've got eBay. Like there are so many resources. Robert Hand is a really Planets in Transits is really there's so many reliable books. But I love going into an old bookshop and like picking up one for a few dollars that just happens to be lying there, like asking for signs from the universe. And one of the ways I learned to really take my astrology to the next level was I met a guy in Hong Kong who is French American who has the same rising and sun as me, and moon as well. So I was really lucky to really take my astrology to such a better level because I devoted so much time to it, but also I had the blessing of people to share with, to talk with, to learn from. So even though it seems like a bit of a tall ask, calling in the mentors, calling in the big sisters, the wise elders, so many women who possibly are just sitting around the kitchen table of the older generation. Like we mustn't forget the women who are a few years along ahead of us who just have not just the wisdom about the astrology but just life. Like there's so many times in a consultation that I'll be just knowing the answer through the general arc of women's or people's lives as well. So yeah, definitely gravitating towards human beings with lived experience. Because the other thing about astrology is you really kind of have to, you don't have to, but it's really beneficial when we walk the path with people, getting the charts of your best friends, your family, like really seeing what other people are going through, TV characters on documentaries, pulling up their birth chart. My go-to software is Astro Gold. It's very, very convenient on Mac computers and the iPhone as well, not using CoStar and like the square formation. But yeah, we've really got it at our fingertips now. So I would definitely implore anyone to go for it. And I'm going to be teaching astrology. I have a really fun, keeping it very fun and like culturally referencing things so people can understand visually. Because I'm really passionate about teaching people through easy visuals. And also, when you're following people on TikTok, and I've only just got TikTok's banned in Hong Kong, so I've only just got access to it in the last year. Um, there's a lot of people that don't back up their research with facts. So I'm seeing a lot of like claims and stuff, and people love to sensationalize anyway. But there's people that kind of don't come up with the goods. So they'll hear something, it sounds good, they'll regurgitate it, but they're not necessarily coming up with the receipts. Whereas what I like to do is really present the research, but then underpin it with some categorical proof astrologically.
That's such good advice.
What
Being
tool?
mindful, being mindful of who we follow, because it's very illustrious to follow somebody who seems like a guru, but people should never really be our gurus. They should never really be um, overriding our own instincts and our own inner knowing as well, because other people don't necessarily always have the answers.
So true. Yeah.
Ooh, we love that. What tools or practices do you like to use for your own personal divination, self-care, and healing?
Well, Jessica's probably got the best self-care instincts, I would imagine, because you've got that moon on the north node. So pulling in, moon being self-care, moon being how we nurture and take care of ourselves, and you having that very intimate connection with that. And then Jezmina also having the moon Jupiter. So you guys are way more qualified to talk about self-care practice. I myself have a very, you know, wild and free Sagittarius moon on the south node, and I've had many gastro problems with my digestion since being a very, very tiny child. So my primary way of caring for myself is watching what I eat, because I get in big trouble for pain when I'm eating. So eating right, sleeping, and just doing the real basics, like just trying to keep in a rhythm and a routine. Like I'm really in danger if I start going off track too much. So for me, it's definitely about food. It's definitely about what I eat. And then in terms of like skincare and all that kind of stuff, I think not smoking, like do not smoke cigarettes. Like, of course, I was a child of the 90s. I was, of course, you know, didn't realize the dangers of smoking as a kid, but like I haven't smoked for like 15 years and don't haven't drank for over a decade. And I use Nivea, thick Nivea every night. So just slathering. I've never had injectables or fillers and all that kind of stuff. I think it's good to stay away from it but I'm not against it, but like just, just let it just looking after oneself. But that's how I think if you feel good on the inside, you can kind of get to feel good on the outside as well.
Yeah, if you're not eating and sleeping right or drinking water, I mean, it doesn't matter how many crystals you have around you, you're gonna feel like trash.
Yeah, I'm also not a massive crystals girl. Like I had a lot in Hong Kong and I had to get rid of so much stuff before leaving to come to Tokyo. So yeah, crystals, I'm afraid I don't have a great collection. I have a lot of astrology books though. They all came with me. That was my priority. I was like, the clothes can go, everything can go, but the astrology, I even purged a lot of astrology books too. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you live that nomad life. You gotta. What are you calling in for your work, or personally in 2026?
Gosh, more of the same. I really want to continue the horoscope with Elle. It was my dream when I was a kid. I loved Elle magazine. I'm so grateful that I get to do that work. Long may it last. And then teaching. I also have a very special course, which I'm in the process of filming it and recording it right now. I've done all the research. The research has been underway since 2000. I want to say 18 because I went to India for an astrology conference and they said, oh, you can speak next year. And then it got called off. Must have been 2019. It got called off because of COVID. So I have this project ready and it's been ready for a long time. I've just been so busy with the dailies because Spotify was a massive, massive workload. But it's about the most prolific moments in fashion history.
Oh, wow.
What was going on? Because it's all very well us saying like, oh, I might dress like this, but what are we basing it on? We base it on, or what are the most successful looks, right? What captures the general public's imagination? So things like Elvis's white catsuit. Everybody imitates Elvis in Las Vegas and the world over. He captured the hearts and like he captured everybody's love hearts, and if you watch Elvis, or I know he's a bit of a dodgy character as well, but if you watch him on those playbacks, he's just gorgeous. I just didn't realize he's just absolutely such a beautiful man, not condoning his personal behaviors.
Hmm.
My husband can't stand him. He's like, oh, Elvis. But still, I'm just like, I don't know. It was a different time, wasn't it? So Elvis, Marilyn Monroe's white billowing dress from the 7 Year Itch, Princess Diana's revenge dress, Jerry Halliwell's 1997 Brit Awards dress. We've got Breakfast at Tiffany's, the black fishtail gown that she wore with the tiara. I've got Pamela Anderson. I've got Ursula Andress that came out of the sea in the Doctor No James Bond film. That's a great one. And then, of course, I go off on a million tangents, then studying famous bikini and bombshell moments. But I've also got Selena Gomez, the first viral image, which was the Coke can that she was drinking. So I'm putting it together as like a presentation slash module to teach people, but it's looking like, why was that so incredible? Because people can dress up, people look amazing all the time. Why is it that that moment and that person brought forward that image? So Jessica gets that for free because kindred spirit.
That is so cool. I love this. I can't wait to see that. Will that be on your website?
Yes, I think I'm going to put it in a Google Drive. I mean, I'm very basic when it comes to the business side of things. I don't have anyone helping me, which is why it's so, life is so crazy, isn't it? How we can still make things work. So the universe has allowed me to do what I do, but yeah, I'm still figuring things out. There's a Thinkific platform. I don't know. I think with this whole Neptune and Pisces, there's been so many people launching courses, and they all seem very, very expensive to like run the course and like to, I like to do things slowly with integrity, and that means that it takes me ages, but like at least when I finally do it, it's going to be well priced, it's going to be good information, and yeah.
This is so great. I can't wait to see that. How can someone book a reading with you or best support your work in any way?
Just send me a message on Instagram. Hopefully it will go into my inbox, and also have my blog that I started in 2012, which is starsignstyle.com. It needs an update. I've got a personal website called kimberlypeter.com because my dad is called Peter. They named me Kimberly Peter Dewhirst, and my dad's moon is on my midheaven, so I called in my middle name for my name. So yeah, Instagram. I'm always on Instagram playing around, looking at things, talking to people.
I love that. And that's astrologer.kimberly on
Yeah,
Instagram.
yeah. And I'm going to start TikTok soon when I can get round to that.
Nice. Yeah, I keep saying I'm gonna do that, and it's
I was going to say, you will not see Jezmina or I there. We'll meet you on Instagram.
We're the different generation. We're kind of like, but TikTok is overwhelming, isn't it? It's
so fast and
very full
loud.
on.
Scared.
Listen, every time I open it, it's screaming at me. I know that I just lost a bunch of people here because they're like, how old is this woman? But it is screaming every time I open it. So I have young people on my team. Shout out to them for going on TikTok and reporting back.
Yeah, and there is a lot of astrology on TikTok. It's a whole world. It's fascinating, and it's so interesting to straddle the world between the Facebook astrologers who are in their 70s and 80s. And I really would also encourage anyone who's really enthusiastic about astrology at a kind of more serious level to go to UAC in Chicago. You're American-based people. Go to UAC, and it's September 3rd till 6th in Chicago. I'll see you there. It's going to be a absolute festivity of fun for the astrological community, and the talks will probably range from beginner to more serious. It seems like a very big affair. So hopefully see you guys there.
Oh, that would be great. Oh,
I'm calling that in.
yes, I would love that. Tell us when you get here.
Yeah, I will. I'll definitely pass. My husband's from New York, so I'll probably go upstate to visit his parents near Poughkeepsie.
Oh, lovely. It's so pretty.
Yeah, yeah, it's lovely.
Thank you so much for joining us. This was so much fun. We highly encourage people to reach out to you. And yeah, we just so appreciate you spending this time with us and helping us take a look at 2026.
Thank you so much, ladies.
So incredible. Thank you.
I like to see you shining. Come meet me in the immaterial world. As far as the galaxy goes, we're flying in the immaterial world. Immaterial world. Come meet me in the immaterial world. Your mind, your body and soul, delighted in the immaterial world. The immaterial world. The immaterial world.
Immaterial World is hosted by Jessica Richards and Jezmina Von Tila. Music by Dia Luna. Artwork by Lane Friend. Follow us at Immaterial World Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Visit our website at www.immaterial-world.com or send us an email at immaterialworldpod@gmail.com. Thank you for being part of our immaterial world.
Welcome to the immaterial world.